Yep, I'm okay with that.
All right,
New England.
New England.
This is me.
This is you.
This was really hard. I didn't like doing this one.
I feel like you're gonna yell
They
at me a
have
lot on
like
this one.
no, I'm not because they had like seven guys with over 250 appearances. Like, how do you tell anybody from there that they're just like, nah, you're not good enough? But I started with Chris Tierney, most apps ever, 277 appearances. Scored 16, had 32 assists from left back. Um, that was a little bit; those numbers are a little bit fluctuated because he started a 2008 draft and was there until he retired last year. This faithful servant is what I'll basically describe him as. He's got a third place and a second place finish in the East, runner up in MLS Cup and U.S. Open Cup, four playoffs, very solid career, very underlooked because he's not in today's media, very underlooked because he was never they didn't play with attacking outside backs, so his numbers don't stand out as like, whoa, look at this guy, or his touches in the final third aren't great, but Tierney, I always remember when Red Bull would go up against him, was like, stay to the other side of him because that dude is going to shut down whoever we have going on the wing. Moving into the Academy kid, literally, Diego Fagundes. 2010, he was drafted or rather signed, excuse me, and he's been there ever since. He lit up the scene in the early parts of the decade for being so young, and then everything kind of caught up around him. However, he still got 261 appearances. I think he's only like 26 too, which is crazy. He's got 53 and 42, so he's closing in on that 50-50 mark. 13 and 5 in 2013, 7 and 9 in 2017, 9 and 8 in 2018. Consistently puts up good attacking numbers, and I think earns his spot here as being one of the mainstays here. I also have Andrew Farrell, which was one of my tougher ones. I was floating between him. Um, who was a Scott Caldwell was another one I had in here, who was another one who just played forever. Center defensive mid, numbers aren't great. But I put Farrell in there because he played everywhere on the back line to try and plug any gap there was. Caldwell did the same, but Farrell kind of stands out more because of the way that he did it. He's super fast, super strong. Doesn't score, doesn't get a lot of assists, but he's this stay-at-home outside back who's going to say, come on, come attack me, and I'm going to crunch you. I like a good defender like that, and I think Farrell has done a really good job. 240 appearances, not a lot of stuff in terms of stats, but consistently one of the first names on the name sheet for whatever coach comes in. They've had a whole slew of them come in there. Just a true professional, help New England remain somewhat relevant in the times of big players, skillful wingers, and big money signings. And then my last one, Lee Win. Oh, where would New England be if they didn't piss off Lee Win? 208 appearances, 54 goals after joining in 2012. Really, they needed that change of pace. Fagundes is too young to make a real difference, so they bring in this guy who lights it up. Finished in 2013, they go third. 2014, they go second in the East. They keep getting better. He's getting U.S. men's national team call-ups, always being compared to amazing center mids like Question when he was at Red Bull or Higuain when he was at Columbus. And then New England decided to play hardball and piss him off. Second most goals in club history, and you're going to end it like that. Such a shame, but Miami's got a good one, but I can't imagine where New England would be if they didn't piss that kid off. He was so good. I remember watching him, and it was like, there are players that you look at, you're like, all right, we got to watch this guy. Lee Win was one of those guys.
I think one of my earliest memories from MLS is when you came over to my house to watch Red Bull play in the playoffs against New England. And I think it was back when I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2015. I don't remember what year. But I remember Lee Win being like a huge part of that team that took down Red Bull.
Yep,
So I had three of the four that you had. I only had one different.
good.
I had Lee Win, I had Andrew Farrell, I had Chris Tierney, but I did not put Diego Fagundes in. He is an honorable mention, but I didn't put him in.
Okay.
I went with Bobby Shuttleworth instead.
Oh, no.
What do you mean
No.
no?
If you're going to pick any goalkeeper from that team, you pick Matt Reese. And Matt Reese isn't there long enough to do it. But
I put Matt Reese as an honorable mention just because he was there in the early part of the decade, but it was the tail end of his career.
Yep.
The reason
Yep.
I went with Shuttle Bobby is because, he was there for many years and he was there all 3 years when they made their playoff runs in 2013, 14, and 15, and he was the goalkeeper for them. Um, I know Matt Reese is more history with him, but it was just like not it wasn't the prime of his career during the 2010s.
So here's what
Um,
I'll say. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I'll finish after.
Matt Reese was my all-time forever first favorite goalkeeper in MLS. I
Uh-huh.
watched Matt Reese play against Red Bulls, and I said, I am a huge fan of the way this guy plays because he was a shorter-ish goal for goalkeepers in pro game, and he played a lot like the way I played. So I was like, all right, this is one of my favorite guys, which is why it hurts me that if you're going to pick a goalkeeper at all from this team, it wasn't my boy Matt Reese. However, I also enjoyed Bobby Shuttleworth's style of play, but I just don't think he's not the level of Luis Robles, Stefan Fry, Brad Guzan when they made their teams win games. He never made saves like that, or at least I don't remember them. So I get that he was a part of the team, but it's almost like he was just that.
I don't I think he could arguably have done more for them to earn a spot on there than Diego Fagundes. Just because I feel
I
like Fagundes has kind of, it seems like, simmered out a bit.
I completely disagree with you, but that's okay because I don't want to yell at you over this.
I had
Um,
one other honorable mention that I had was Shalry Joseph. Same reason as Matt Reese, just later
yep,
part of his career in the early part of the decade. But I know he was like a
yeah,
super player for them.
yeah. No, he was. Shalry Joseph was the guy, but he only came back for the last year or two. So tough to put him in here for the decade. But I think if we did a full like in their history, yeah, I think so.